No, keep that over there, please. Keep that over there.
I will. I'll try our best.
So, what have you been up to this Sunday afternoon or the Sunday so far?
So, Sundays are rugby days. So my son plays rugby. So, we managed to avoid the rain. Fortunately, we had to change pitches because the pitch was waterlogged. So we did do the 4G pitch instead. So they managed to get their game in. So a bit of fresh air, and then just general washing, meal prep, lunch boxes, all ironing, all the generic house stuff as well, basically. So not just a generic Sunday here for us.
That's like my typical Sunday, where it's like, okay, let me catch up and prepare for the Monday because the Monday is always, oh my God, I hate Mondays, right? It's always like that kind of vibe.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've done my salad prep for the week. I've done like a couple of days of pasta. So we have pasta salad and my son's lunch boxes and his wraps and all that. So a couple of days sorted in one go and the ironing. So it's a couple of days of limited housework.
Perfect. Well, it sounds like you're ready for the Monday, and it sounds like you're ready for our conversation
Yes,
today,
I
right?
definitely am. Yes, looking forward to this.
Yeah. So I know we're going to speak about relationships, life, dating as a single parent.
Mhm.
So I know there's a little bit the dynamics is a little bit different versus let's say for example, I don't have any children, and if I was dating as a single man, maybe the way I navigate things are a little bit different. But from you, we're gonna get your perspective, and I can't wait to hear it. So do me a favor, please, Kelly. Introduce yourself to my audience a little bit about who you are, and of course where they can find you.
Okay, so my name is Kelly Watts. I help tired women who want to leave teaching use their transferable skills and get started in coaching. And I also help new coaches as well, who are doing their courses. They know how to coach, they just don't know how to build that business. So that's what I help them do, get off the ground and get it going for them. So you can find me on social media. So I am Kelly Watts Coaching on Instagram, and I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I'm just Kelly Watts on that. So please send a request. I just loved getting to know people, helping people, even if it's just this parent, the single parent. If it doesn't have to be anything to do with business. If we got something in common, I'd love to connect and share our stories.
Perfect. So do me a favor, take us right.
In the business side, sorry, is that what?
Yes, as a business side as well as your personal journey as well.
Right. So basically, I've always been so in my jobs, I've never been like the top dog, basically. So I never had a degree. Um, I would just be that customer service, or I was in my previous job, I was a social work assistant, and now I've just left a teaching assistant job. So I've always felt like I bottom of the ladder, if you know what I mean. And then and on top of that, then being a single parent for most of that time, I couldn't work full time. I only had one income, and so although he didn't go without, I felt that as a parent, when you have kids, life would have been different, basically. So, the beginning of last year. I hadn't long moved in with my partner. We've been together a couple of years, but we hadn't lived together, so it was very much still me and my son at that point. So we and I think I was thinking about this the other day actually, and I was thinking about going back a little bit more on the journey and how I got here. And I think that move it must have clicked something inside of me to think that, do you know what? I've just got onto this rut where I've been on my own for 8 years, bringing up a child, and that is now time for me to unleash myself. There's now more to life. I feel like I can look for an opportunity. I can do that. So I was a teaching assistant because I retrained to be more present for my son, basically. So I trained to be a teaching assistant when he started school. Then we went into lockdown. And then since then I've worked in a school with SEND children, so ch children with special educational needs. And I was a one-to-one. And it got to a point at the beginning of last year, which is just a few months after I'd moved in. And I was just thinking, there was just no satisfaction. I was thinking, there must be more to life. I'm tired. I'm coming home from school, getting my son, and then we're back and forth, our hobbies, running a house, trying to see, be with your partner in the evenings, and then just going to bed absolutely shattered. And I was just there's more to life, but I didn't know what that was. So I thought I want to start working for myself somehow. Again, I didn't know what to do, how to start, what I wanted to do. So I just started looking at online courses, reading books, and just trying to learn everything I could about business, basically. So it sort of evolved from there. So la last summer, I decided this is going to be my last year working in a job. From next summer, I'm quitting and I'm just going to go full speed ahead and work full time in my business. And that's where I am today. So,
I know a lot of parents, especially single parents, they struggle to
mm,
find like a balance between dating, working,
mm,
relationships, promotions, and then you still have the constant juggling of raising a child,
yes.
right? So when you are going through what you're going through, how were you able to find a balance or at least work towards the balance between the two, as well as raising your child?
So if I just give a bit of background about how I was a single parent. So since I was pregnant, basically, so the other person hasn't been involved. So I literally did it from birth on my own. So it got to a point when he was a couple of months old, I did start looking at the dating scene, and then just I tried a couple, and then one or two things, and then something clicked. It was like, do you know what? I thought I needed that, but I don't actually need a relationship. And I think letting go with that, I don't need that. I've actually got everything I need here with me and Oscar. So I put that on the back burner then for a couple of years because it just didn't bring anything into my life. I had everything I needed. So it was only then I think he was 2 or 3 and I started like dabbling into the online world a little bit. The online dating world, like Plenty of Fish and all of that basically. And then it just takes up a lot of time and energy. And like when you've got like a 2, 3 year old and you're working, it's still not the right balance because you can go on a couple of dates and then it doesn't go well, and just that uses a lot of energy which you don't want to give. And like at the time I lived at my auntie's house, so I'd have to put my son to bed and then go out, on this date and then come back. But although he was only in bed, it was like a couple of hours of my mo much needed resting and time and my energy of doing this. So again, it went on the back burner again a little bit because people aren't in tune to other people's emotions and feelings. Like when I used to go on it, I would only talk to one person at a time. I would only meet with one person at a time because I find it difficult to properly invest and make an effort if you're talking to 4 or 5 different people, because things can get confusing how you're going to get to know someone if you're trying to have 4 different conversations. But it did take up a lot of energy, and then the turning point came then during COVID. So obviously it was me, my son. I was trying to homeschool him. He was only 5 at the time, so it's a long time being on your own with kids. And then when we come to the end of it, then I realized if this was to happen again, which it potentially could, I wanted to be with someone if it happened. So then at this point, then I started back on the on the apps again. I started chatting to someone and then that went down the pan a little bit. And then I was speaking to one of the other school mums and she said, I, I remember like feeling like this way in a way because she was at a stage in her life where basically I think she was in her 30s and she wanted a baby. And then she said that, right, it's a numbers game. You've literally just got to go through the numbers until you find that one, basically. So not in a bad way, knock them off the bed sheets, not in that way, just in a sense of you just got to keep going. It's a numbers game and you keep going until you find your number, basically. So I thought, right, I'm gonna put a completely different spin on it. I went back on and I thought, right, I'm going to meet with someone, we have a cuppa. If it don't go well, whereas before I would come off, it'd take me a few weeks to sort of, you know, emotionally rebalance because, like I said, it takes a lot of time and effort. I thought, right, I'll, if we meet up, it doesn't go well, that evening, I'll just go back on and start talking to people. Like I think of it as the numbers game as opposed to, you know, the long run, basically. So then I started chatting to someone, and then we met up, and now 4 years later, he was my number one, and now 4 years later, we're still together. So it's just how that perspective, that mind shift completely changed everything, the way you go about and the way you think about it.
Well, congratulations on
Thank you.
finding love through it. I have a couple of friends that they're on the dating apps, and to your friend's point or your coworker's point, it's 100% they would agree. It's a
Mhm.
numbers game because they started off similar to you, or it was slow. One person maybe, and then that didn't work out. Okay, another person, or maybe two, but it's literally okay. You gotta work. Okay, identify. Okay, this person's not gonna work. You move on, right? And you have to figure that out, and it is very, very time consuming. And one thing that I try to recommend to the women that because I work with women at a charity, is that when they get back on the dating market, the dating app is easy because it's right in your hand and you could essentially discuss that part of it from your
Mhm.
home any time of the day, literally, right? But you have to mentally prepare yourself because it's different than meeting someone in person, where you may meet one person maybe two a month. With a dating app, you can meet 10 people today, 10 matches tomorrow, 20 matches, and you literally have to kind of filter out, and you have to dedicate your time to it. And there's one single mother who did just like you. Like, she would put her child to bed, and then she would go on her date. So as she's putting the child to bed, she's getting ready. So she has like her shirt on, her heels on, and things like that. And it was definitely a struggle for her. When you're helping the single parents now, maybe take some of that skill set into the business side, the work side, do you find that they have a difficulty maybe transitioning some of the skills that they're using while dating into the workplace, or is it like an easy balance for them?
Um, it's a bit of a difficult one, really, because obviously when you become a parent and a single parent, you're doing the job of two people. So I think it's hard not to help because when you have kids as well, like since I've had my son, like my brain has not stopped because even when they're sleeping, you're still, right, what's the next thing we've got to do? What's the next? Are they okay? Are they going to wake up in the night, in the morning, first thing you do? You know, he's 9 now as well, mine, but it doesn't stop. You're constantly on your mind. So I think you bring a lot of skills to the job. And the one thing I found was when I had that before I had my son, I didn't date the right men. And having those breaks, and especially those couple of years breaks where I learned to love me. And then when you go onto these apps as well, you can see those bad ones a mile off, and you have that respect for yourself. As before, it would be, oh, I want to talk to them because they might be the one. It was just like, do you know what? I'm a mum. I'm not being messed around. I don't like the sound of it, so I'm not going there because it's not just me at risk now. I'm at risk of if a child is brought into a relationship, is everything that you're putting them in front of it as well. So it makes you toughen up a lot as well. And you basically you take less crap basically because you value yourself. And it's really important as well, you don't jump from one to the other because you've got to get that, lift yourself up and have that you and your kid first. And then if anyone else doesn't align with it, then there's no room for them basically. But then on the other hand as well, I sometimes find it difficult that there's someone there to share with as well, someone there to take. I still sometimes on that I'm always on fight or flight mode. Can I help? No, because if you left, I'd have to do it myself anyway, if you know what I mean. So you still, I think you take that flight or fight mode with you everywhere. So it's good in a way, but sometimes you may overtask because you're used to doing lots of things, or you're worried about being let down or someone not being able to do the job in the right way, if you know what I mean. So it's hard really. So there's lots of good skills, but they're not always positive.
Why do you think so many people fall into that trap of allowing someone that isn't the best for them into their lives when they're trying to um, date as a single parent?
Because they're not in a place where they value and love themselves. They've either been worn down and got that way for a reason, and they haven't given themselves time to heal. They're just jumping back and forth, back and forth. So, because they haven't allowed themselves to heal and truly value them, it's just that they just get back on the game and they just naturally attracting that because that's what they're used to. It's not in a way, but whereas now a lot of people I'd let walk over me before, I wouldn't let that happen now, basically. So it's they just haven't learned to love themselves or feel the value or feel they're important enough to say no or